George would say.
It's nice to get that oxidation off. You ready, Hoofy?
Hi, welcome to Forge and Anvil. I'm Alan Rogers, and I'm a blacksmith. I heat metal in this forge here and beat it over my anvil with a hammer into all sorts of interesting shapes, twists and turns that I use in gates, architectural elements, and furniture of all kinds. Many of you, when you think blacksmithing, probably think of horseshoers, and there are a lot of horseshoers working in the country. Or you might remember the Longfellow poem, "Under the spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands." Maybe you have images from Western movies of the smith making wagon wheels and shoeing horses and all the implements that the Western town needed to run. All of these are accurate representations of the past. People have been doing these things for thousands of years. And blacksmiths are still fairly common in the United States. It's really a strange phenomenon where they almost disappeared and then experienced a revival in the recent 20th century. We're going to try to tell you that story as part of this television series by visiting all sorts of blacksmiths all over the country, doing all sorts of different metalworking techniques, from making knives and armor to making tools, artwork, all sorts of architectural details, and all the various things that blacksmiths do. Many people are still actively engaged in this long tradition of craftsmanship that stretches back thousands of years. In America, we've been real lucky to have some great smiths, and one of the greatest worked in the early part of the 20th century. His name was Samuel Yellin, and he had a workshop in Philadelphia that turned out small pieces and extremely large pieces, including ones that weighed hundreds of tons. The Federal Reserve Bank in New York was one of the largest wrought iron installations ever made. Yellin also made some very beautiful gates all over Philadelphia, including the ones on the Packard Building. The gates on the Packard Building are 40 feet high, but they contain some of the most beautiful details you'll ever see on any wrought iron work, including the latch itself. Yellin also worked on a smaller scale, like these hinges on these doors at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Philadelphia. Samuel Yellin worked on some extremely large projects, as we could see from those clips. I don't tend to work on 40-foot tall gates, but I do some fairly substantial pieces at times, and these are a pair of them right here. These gates are about 150 years old. They were made in Paris in the 1840s. They are beautiful work. They're made from wrought iron, not from steel, but they were made for carriages. They're a little too narrow to accommodate modern requirements of county codes. Now they want you to have a 14-foot wide driveway so a fire truck can get in there, and of course this makes sense, so the owners of the home want these gates expanded. What I'm going to do is to recreate these interior elements and add a couple of panels so the gates will be about 2 feet wider on each side. I've made several of these pieces here, enough so that I can reproduce each panel and spread it on out. The craftsman who made these gates, he was truly a great craftsman. The blacksmith was extraordinarily good at what he did. He built these gates without any welds anywhere. It is bolted together. The large elements are tapped and threaded, and the smaller elements are riveted. And the rivets are ground down so fine you can barely see them. It's a beautiful piece of work. Excellent craftsmanship. Even the collars have been riveted on and ground down. Just lovely work. This is wrought iron, you can see, as opposed to steel, which is all you can really get now. Wrought iron's very rare. It's difficult to come by. This has been handmade. You can see the striations in it, like grain in a piece of wood. It's very beautiful craftsmanship, even in terms of the manufacture of the materials. And as you can see, this transom that goes with the gates is just really spectacular. I don't always work on this large a scale. I also like to make furniture. This is a bed I've recently made. It's a queen-size bed, as you can see, and it's a very open, airy design. And I incorporated a motif that I particularly like, these roses here. They're sort of a trademark of mine. A lot of blacksmiths make roses, and this is my interpretation of it. I I really enjoyed making this bed. And I enjoy working in iron in general because it's such a heavy material that can be made to look very light and airy if you do it right. We're going to show you how to make a lot of different things on Forge and Anvil, including these pieces here. Now, this is a trivet that we made based on a Wheel of Life design that we saw in Charleston. We took several G-scrolls and just twisted them up and put them together into this trivet that can be also used for a chair back or for a tabletop. Makes all sorts of good things, and it's real easy to make. I'm sure you'll enjoy making it. We're going to show you how to make this table, which is just simple J-scrolls put together into a dogwood pedal form that I've used for chair backs and trivets and all sorts of things. You just put a piece of glass on there and there you go. We're going to show you how to make this chair, which I essentially just took a scroll and unraveled it, and then I put an oak seat on it. It really came out quite nice. It's fairly complex, but if you do it in a step-by-step fashion, you should have no trouble. There are a lot of people doing all sorts of things in blacksmithing all over America, and we visited some of these shops on Forge and Anvil. Here's just a few.
When I'm going to do a new piece, if I can't see the original, I will get as much information on it as I can, a museum catalog or something. What I try to do is once a year I go to Europe, and I know a few curators. So, you know, in London I go to the Wallace Collection, or in Copenhagen the Arsenal, or various museums around Europe, and they're generally very receptive. You know, I can pull something out of a case and measure it up and get all the details, and it's the best way. If you're really going to reproduce something, the best way is to get your hands on it and get all the little details down. And then when you make it, it's as close as you can do. And the whole point of the things that we're trying to do are to be as accurate as possible to the originals, whether it's armor or a sword or a mace or an axe. We want it to be almost indistinguishable from the real thing.
So, we bring that back out. And you see the handle you've created. Now each one will end up being slightly different. You can see how this other one is more of a center oval type. This one creates more of a cone, the way it just went.
It's pretty.
I like to let things go the way they want to, especially if I'm not trying to make 50 of them. That way they each have their own little personality.
Right. Well, your career, we were talking earlier, and you'd mentioned that your career has gone through sort of a change, especially in the way you make knives, and it illustrates something that we're trying to talk about in the series. What was that?
Initially, I did stock removal work, which is purchasing blade material, bandsawing it out, grinding it to shape. In 1986, I made the transition into the forge work, which does away with the cutting and grinding mode of stock removal, and you use a forge, a hammer, and an anvil to shape your blades.
And this steel's called?
This is Damascus steel, or pattern welded steel.
It's beautiful, especially you can see some of these have really beautiful patterns in them. What is the general process as far as making Damascus steel?
Damascus starts out as a few layers of dissimilar materials. In this particular instance, we're dealing with a straight carbon steel with thin strips of pure nickel separating them. These are placed into the forge, brought up to a welding temperature, and hammer welded together. That's an oversimplified account of it, but that's basically what we do.
And of course, the steel is a lot more malleable when it's hot than when it's cold, naturally. But to be able to take that hot steel and form it the way that you want it to fit the foot in a certain particular situation that you need, it requires a great deal of skill.
Well, the tolerances are very close. I mean, you have to get it so close.
Exactly.
The first stage is to use visualization to get some idea of what you want to do. You relax and shut your eyes, and you sort of look as though you're over your own shoulder and see yourself making the piece. And over a period of several sessions, you can do most of your design work at that stage. Then you go to a paper and sketch it out, or you take clay like this and use the hammer to begin forming it, and you can figure out the steps you need to go through, and you can figure out the tools you need to use and whether the piece of material is the right size. And I've made one of these before, so I know that this is going to be a good sized piece of material for the head and the body, see? And we use a thinner handle on it so that I don't have to drag all this weight every single time, because I'm not going to need more than this much material, see? And we heat it up, we put it in the forge, and get started heating it. And some of the other tools we're going to use are chisels and punches. This little dwarf will have a partner, and they'll be facing each other. And this wall will be the back of the fireplace, and the back bar of the andiron comes out like this, and the dwarfs will be holding it like this, and they'll be facing each other. So there'll be a nice active gesture, see, instead of just the ultra-traditional ones have them just standing like this with the back bar coming out of their back, see, but this is the 20th century, and we like action.
Hey, motion,
you know?
right, exactly. So the clay also shows you how to, what tools you're going to be needing in the process, right? I mean, you're going to be using different punches
Right, and we'll see here that we can use this little wedge I made a few minutes ago to form the part of the eye. It's going to be looking sideways, you see. So we have to form his an indentation right there that we can use a round punch then in to make an eye, see?
Right.
And maybe a few chisel marks for hair, like that, you see?
So you know where everything is before you start the project, which is so essential when the heating is going on.
Oh, yes. When it's hot, you got to work it. When it gets cold, it won't move.
Right.
And if you spend all your time looking around for the right tool, it won't ever get made.
Looks like fun, doesn't it? And all you really need are some simple tools. You need a forge to heat the metal in, an anvil to work the metal on, and a hammer to move the steel around. You might also want some tongs to hold the metal when it gets hot. We're going to show you how to either make or acquire all of these tools on Forge and Anvil. You'll also need some working stock. We usually use pre-sized stock that you can buy at a steel yard, and next time we're going to take you to a steel yard where you can kind of get used to the environment and see where you need to go to buy the kind of material you need to do the projects in our series. This forge I'll also show you how to build next time. I made it from pieces I bought in my local hardware store. It's just a wheelbarrow pan, some 2x4s, plumbing fixtures, and a squirrel cage blower. And you fire it up and get going in no time at all. An anvil, you really can't make yourself. There are ways to make them out of railroad ties and various other things, but you do better to buy one to start with. This is a farrier's anvil. If you're going to have to take your shop down and put it back up a lot, this is the way to go. They're lighter, easier to move around. And you really don't need a big old heavy anvil if you're just starting out. This one weighs 75 pounds. It has a lot in common with all anvils. The general shape is one that you'll see in most blacksmith shops today, but it's a little bit different. Farrier anvils have certain features that make it easier to make horseshoes. This tail is somewhat narrower. You can move the horseshoe around a lot more easily. The bick is longer and more graceful for working on horseshoes. It also has a clip horn here, and that is for drawing clips out. Clips on horseshoes keep the shoe from sliding around on the horse's foot. This surface is harder than the rest of the anvil so that it doesn't wear out quite as quickly. They all get chips and dents in them, and over the years they'll wear out and have to be refaced. This one's 15 years old and still serving me pretty well, but it's about time for a cleanup on it. All anvils have holes that are sunk into the table in order to put tools in so that you can do all sorts of bending and cutting operations. This scroll bender fits right in what is called the hardy hole. This is the hardy hole. A hardy is actually something you use to cut metal. We'll show you how to make one of those on a program as well. This fits down in here, and if I need to bend metal, it's no problem. There's also a Pritchell hole. This is for punching metal all the way through. If you're putting a hole in a piece of metal, the piece that you're punching out will fall through here, and you drive your punch down into it. It's set on an anvil stand that needs to be solid. A lot of people use oak stumps. This is just a portable anvil stand that we can move around. I also need to use a hammer for pushing the metal around. I use all different kinds of hammers depending on the application. This is my favorite, however. It's a 2.5-pound rounding hammer. I'd suggest that you use one like this because you have two surface options on this hammer. A flat surface here, a round surface here. The round surface is good for drawing out metal and making round shapes. And the flat surface, of course, is the surface you use primarily. Different smiths use all sorts of hammers, and many times when you start a new job, you'll have to make a tool in order to do that job, and you'll end up with a huge collection of hammers like Stan Strickland and Tom Joyce. They both have some pretty impressive collections of tools that they've built up over the years. While these are the essential tools that you'll need, as you start to do more complex projects, you'll require a welder and other more specialized tools that we'll show you about in some future shows.
A lot of this would have been hammered either by someone working with a striker or working by themselves or maybe with a water-driven trip hammer. What would you use to work on some of these heavier details?
I use my power hammer. This is a 50-pound power hammer, 1902 model. The reciprocating head, and I'll demonstrate, is will move up and down 259 times a minute, which is faster than a human being can hammer.
Right.
I'll show you how it works.
All right. Oh, yeah.
This hammer is indispensable in drawing out heavy elements. I may do in 10 minutes on this hammer, would take an hour to do by hand. And it's a necessary item.
Is there any other tool that you find would be necessary for doing intermediate to advanced work?
The next item is the drill press. And this particular piece, there's not a weld on it. All attachments are screws and rivets and so forth. And normally we get into drilling holes, need the accuracy, and two, we may wind up drilling 100 to 200 holes in a restoration. So the drill press is very important as a tool necessary to do the heavier work.
We have three primary shop machines here. These are all MIGs. It stands for metallic inert gas. This one right here being the smallest one. The only problem about being a small one is it'll only weld up to material up to about 1/8 of an inch thick, which is 11 gauge. You get a little more serious than that, you go to 150 amps here. You have a piece of steel here about 1/4, maybe 3/8 of an inch thick. It's about as thick as this machine will go. You get a little more serious than that, and you go to the larger 250 amp. Now this is getting serious. You can work on your equipment, your bulldozer, whatever, with this one right here. This right here is a piece of 1/2 inch bar. Represents about the thickness of this one. The good thing about having a MIG is you have a wire that comes through, it's inside the machine, it comes through the liner, and when you depress the trigger, the wire comes out. That rushing noise, that air noise that you hear is the gas coming through the cylinder, through the flow meter, and out the end of the gun. Without that gas, this wire would just stick to the metal because of the electricity going through it.
What is this here?
Okay, that right there is if you know, as much as you know about welding, you have the little balls and everything whenever you weld it, you have that little splatter and everything. This right here is what they call anti-splatter. Spray it on before you weld and you just wipe that splatter off with your glove.
Oh, that would be great, because I spend a lot of time knocking those little balls off.
Gotta have it. Gotta have it.
So we have MIG and then we have stick. I'm more familiar with this, with using an electrode like this and a big old stick. What's the real difference here?
Okay, the difference there is, whereas we have the wire coming through the liner on a MIG, on a stick, of course you got your welding rod. This coating on the outside of the rod, what that does is when it heats up, it forms the same gas that this MIG has in a tank. When that happens, it forms a shield between the end of the rod and the metal so that it won't stick because of the electricity. This one here runs off of gasoline. It's something that we use to put up our gates and fences and that kind of stuff out on a job site. It is very serious though. This one here will weld material up to, this right here is 3/4 inch. It'll go to probably 7/8 of an inch.
Boy.
So you're getting pretty serious as we go down the line here, but if you really want to get serious, say build a submarine, here we go.
All right.
This guy right here, this is 480 amps of extreme welding power.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's just primarily a stick machine, but it also has another function. It's what they call a TIG, which is tungsten inert gas. That is used when you're welding aluminum, stainless steel, that kind of thing.
Right.
If you're a serious shop, you have got to have a machine like this.
Yeah, it's a big one indeed.
Yeah, it's great to have. A lot of times I don't know what I would have done without it.
One of the great things about blacksmithing is that you make a lot of your own tools, like these tongs. Jeff Moore made these tongs for me in our third show, and we have a really good demonstration about how to make this very essential tool. When metal gets hot, it changes color, and the different levels of color will tell you about the different hardnesses of metal. If it's very, very light colored, it's very soft. You can even burn metal in a forge like this, and when you bring it to a burning heat, you can also weld it. People used to weld in forges before they had arc welders and acetylene torches, and what they would do is bring two pieces of metal to a welding heat, flux them with borax, and then they pound them together like this. And that's how you make a forge weld. The best part about blacksmithing, though, really is the people. And we visited lots of very interesting people in the course of this series. This is Judy Berger of Huntington, Pennsylvania, one of the many fine smiths that teach here at the John C. Campbell Folk School.
Hey, George, how you doing?
Hi, Alan. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. We're here at Wade Tool in Elberton, Georgia. Well, hey, Stanley, how you doing?
Alan, how are you?
Good, good.
Welcome to Lawler Foundry.
Well, thanks for having us. The man who's written the definitive book on Samuel Yellen is Jack Andrews, and he's here to tell us something about him. Welcome to the program, Jack.
Thank you.
Hey, Alan. Hey, Carl, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're here at Andre Studios in Atlanta, Georgia with Carl Andre Davids, the co-owner and designer.
We're here at Asheville Iron Works, where they make beautiful pieces of architectural ironwork as well as furniture and display items for the retail industry. This is Barry Bate. Hi, welcome to Forge and Anvil. I'm Alan Rogers. We're coming to you today from Memphis, Tennessee at the National Ornamental Metal Museum. This show today is about architectural details, and we'll be seeing a lot of different gates and fences and visiting the shop of Ivan Bailey. But while we're here, we've got some beautiful things to look at, including this beautiful set of gates, and it's a very special set of gates that Jim Wallace, the director of the museum, is going to be telling us about. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Good to see you.
You name them. If you have any knowledge about the Western show and Western shows and how the part the blacksmith played, and you can imagine what Charleston would look like.
Mm-hmm. This is Michelle Pizer, co-owner of Art Forms Gallery. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Put these on a form here.
Right, right. Make a form for each different size shape that we need.
Mm-hmm. We're here at American Art Forge with Tom Sheets, blacksmith. Tom's working on a handrail. If you decide to get into this, you'll want to talk to some experienced smiths, and there's a couple of ways that you can do this. One way is to take a course at one of the craft schools in the United States, like John C. Campbell at Brasstown, North Carolina. There you can take a weekend course or a week-long course and decide whether you really want to take it any further. And you're exposed to really experienced working smiths who can teach you a great deal. Another way is to avail yourself of the guild system that was set up in the United States in the 70s and 80s. Alex Beeler, a man from North Georgia who's very influential in blacksmithing, began the guild system along with a handful of other people who started ABANA, which is the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America. They set up guilds all over the country, places where people could come together and talk about blacksmithing and watch demonstrations. Many of them meet once a month, and find the one in your area and you can just go and watch a demonstration. They'll probably give you a chance to do a little hands-on work there, and you'll be able to network into sources for tools and for materials. Alex Beeler is a very important name in blacksmithing because he was very instrumental in stopping it from disappearing altogether. In the late 60s and early 70s, he and a handful of people decided this wasn't going to happen. He began to conduct workshops on blacksmiths, and the footage we're about to show you comes from one that he conducted at the University of Southern Illinois in 1970. Alex passed away a few years ago, and this is sort of a tribute to him.
Well, I've always had a hankering to make things, and I met an old man who had a log blacksmith shop way out in the country in Cobb County, Georgia, when I was about 14 years old, and became friendly with him and watched him work on his forge and make things. He was really a living relic of pioneer days, lived in a log cabin, split his own shingles and made his own tools, and his father had been a blacksmith, and he told me tales about what marvelous things his father had done and showed me artifacts his father had made, and I just saw a certain spirit of self-reliance there, which I admired, and I wanted to try it. And my interest was maintained, and it really grew, I guess about 5 years ago, and I decided to make a model Civil War cannon, and found out that certain of the parts simply had to be forged. There was no other way, so I didn't have a forge. I built a small one and forged those parts, and then became more interested in it, collected tools, built a larger forge, started doing more blacksmithing, found, half a dozen old blacksmiths that I could talk to and watch them work and ask them questions, and that really got me started. So here I am at the first blacksmith workshop.
Start off, you want to lay your coal around the side here, not over the grate, but just around the side. And we're not going to make a great big fire here today either. We'll just demonstrate. But a fire, you may think that you can just build any sort of fire, but a fire is awfully important, and a fire has to be cleaned out frequently. And particularly if you're welding. We're not going to try any welding today. We'll hold that until tomorrow, but don't neglect your file.
Well, I hope that gives you a taste of some of the things that you're going to see on Forge and Anvil. We go to some beautiful places and visit some of the best smiths in the United States. We want you to actually get out there and do this stuff, so we've added a companion volume and some tapes that give you expanded versions of the projects, so you can actually get out there, build yourself a forge, get an anvil, and start pounding on some metal. We've broken the show down into 5 general segments: horseshoeing, furniture making, architectural details, artwork, and weapons making as well. So there's a little something for everybody. Join us next time on Forge and Anvil.
To obtain your personal copy of Alan Rogers' Forge and Anvil companion book, including project details and expanded videotapes of Forge and Anvil projects, send $15 for the book, $35 for tapes, or $39.95 for both. Call 1-800-359-4040 for credit card orders. Make checks payable to the University of Georgia and send them to Forge and Anvil, University of Georgia, Georgia Center, Athens, Georgia, 30602-3603.